Now it's little styling items, that very small things like the forks being black. Well, we got a pretty simple goal today. I'm feeling a little bit better, not great, but a little bit better. And the rain has ended, it's a sunny day, and I'm ready to start putting more parts on this bike. I am just sitting on it today, maybe get motivated, I guess is the right word. I'm highly motivated. I'm like those birds out by the feeder. So it looks like the first thing I'm going to need to do is move the bike up a little bit. Well, as I'm looking around, we're pretty good. I guess I should start by putting a tank on today. And there's a lot of wiring and connections, and then I'm trying to make this thing in my mind here. Get the tank on, get some gas in the tank, get it running again, hear the engine run. And my whole objective of doing the tank last was so I didn't wind up with rust in the tank, having it sit out here for 3 months. Anyway, that looks like trying to make a plan here this morning, but I'm motivated, but the biggest motivation will be is when I have that extra cup of coffee this morning. Now, I'm so used to seeing those wheels down in the cellar. Seeing them on a motorcycle changes everything. Wow. Boy, that was worth every little bit of time and energy that I put into this. Those wheels, as I always say to people, the paint is the biggest thing that makes a motorcycle custom, and the wheels are number 2. And I get the tank on that today, maybe some of the body work. We got to see how the day is going to play out, because we're still on the end of this being sick. And every one of these projects, when it was over and I got to this point to where we're getting ready for the test ride, I had the same emotional feeling. All winter I work on these projects, but springtime always comes, and when it does, you have another motorcycle to have the rest of your life. It's a good feeling. So I got to move the GS out of here. That'll allow me to bring that up further into the shop, just make it a little bit easier to work on. Moving these bikes around, it gets to be like running a parking garage. Now, I'll put the GS out. That gives me a little more flexibility where I can put the bike and being able to walk around it a little bit. But the important thing, well, we're going to be putting the bodywork on. It's a sunny day. The birds are chirping. The dogs are barking. And right across the street, you can see the Forsythias already in yellow. Means riding season is not far away. And little by little, the pond is clearing up. As we filter the water, I already got the filters going. It's time. Oh, it's time to get motivated. Time to get motivated. Time to get that gas tank on. Do you think these birds care if that gas tank goes on today? Wendy, get out there and get to work. Every day the parts on the parts bench get less and less, fewer and fewer. Oh, as I go by every morning doing my oogling special job. And it's not going to be long now. This whole project is going to come to fruition. And I do the oogle every morning because I just can't believe we're in the 5th month of doing this. And every minute of that time I have enjoyed. I hope I've been able to share it in an entertaining way on YouTube. And I hope you've enjoyed sharing this whole project too. It's been quite a unique project. And when we're done, we're going to have quite a unique motorcycle. I hope. Now there are several wire connectors and several overflow and vent tubes that have to get routed into an accurate position. So getting this in position is going to be a little more of a job than just dropping a tank on like it is on an RD. First thing, once this is in a preliminary fitting position, I've got to start connecting up the tubes, the vent lines. It's not an RD, that's for sure. Now I'm trying to get these all in sequence so I don't have these get snapped in. Of course, it's great if you're an octopus and you get your little baby, tiny little fingers in here. When you got human-sized hands, not that easy. Okay, that one's in. Now we got the fuel pump one. That one's got to go in. And they only go in one way, of course. Okay, now we have to hook up the fuel line. That's the next thing. And the fuel line to the fuel pump is right here. That's going to be a little trickier to get my tiny little sweet little, just about, you can see it just about makes it with the rubber hammer in place. But of course, all these things would be great if you had little tiny fingers. That's the problem. So here's the whole thing in a nutshell, is to gotta lower the tank just a little bit. And then there's a little clip that goes on this. I gotta get the clip on. All right, you gotta be Superman to push this on. And now there's a little red clip that goes on there. And then we're ready to put the vent lines on. So these are all the parts, the tank hold downs, the rubber biscuits, and this part that I've marked which line this goes on, and there's an arrow on it which way it goes. We can't get that backwards, but this is the little part that has to go onto the fuel line. It locks the fuel line because it's under pressure, of course, from the fuel pump. You don't want to forget this little guy. Now here's one thing, these little flashlights are super handy for. Let's see if we've got that on before I even go any further. Oh. Okay, now we can get this on. Now I want to try to hold the light in here so I can show that clip has to be snapped in because that fuel line is under pressure, and if we don't get it right, if you put that or you just leave that part out, you could have a gas leak there, or even worse, the fuel line could come off and you'll just fuel pump all your fuel down onto a hot engine. So that's a critical thing, to make sure that you can't pull that off. It snaps on. There's a little flange on one side, and that contains it. And when it snaps in right, it just goes click and it's in. That's a really critical thing. And the next thing is the two vent lines, and the one has that filter on it, and there's a clip down here. Here it is, that confines those, keeps them from going into the shifter. So we've got to snake them down in exactly the way they were before, around and down and around, and then we should be able to lower the tank and put the rubber bushings on. And this is the one I marked it for the fuel, that little fuel filter it looks like. Whatever that does, I don't want to disturb any of this. And I remember this was really a tight fit. It didn't get any looser since then. So we have that one down there, that one down there, that's coming down, that comes out there. Now I guess for all purposes, now I guess we could lower the tank so that those could come into position. Boy, you can hear those birds chirping. Okay, those lines are now in the position they are. The filter is in exactly the right spot, and that's all self-contained, just the way it was. So we haven't disturbed that in any way. Now the last thing is I got to jack up the tank just a little bit, get the rubber bushings installed here, and make sure that everything on the tank, there's nothing rubbing, and then tighten the bolts. And I'm trying to be real careful about putting these bushings in because I don't want to scratch the paint. I don't want to slip with the pliers. Yeah, perfect. Now once they're in, then I can take the part that goes on top and just press that in, and that keeps the whole tank rubber mounted. Now this is the bracket that basically holds the seat on. So make sure I get this in good position. Now it's important, once these are snug down, the most important part that I'm going to have to do today is I want to go get a small container of gas, maybe a quart, 2 quarts of gas. I don't want to fill up the gas tank. tank has no gas in it. And I want to make sure that the fuel pump is working before I put any other body work on this. In case I have some of the wiring incorrect or something not working, I want to have a test of the fuel pump, and I want most important thing, I want to hear the engine run. And then I know I can go on with the next step. So with the tank mounted now, I get, and that's the first time we've seen it with the tank and the wheels. You see how important that Kawasaki logo was to get that right and get it gold, not silver. But I think about this, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, this would make a great Street Fighter. Get one of those Triumph headlights or a headlight from like the Brutale has. Probably an expensive part though, that's for sure. But anyway, this might make a cool Street Fighter. It actually doesn't look a whole lot different than some of the MV Street Fighters that have the big humpy tank. That's anyway, thoughts for another Evil Twin project 10 years from now. Now when I put some gas in there, I want to really try to protect it. Again, if I had a helper here, well, easier way, what I'll do is just use like a small container and put one quart in at a time. I want to put just about less than a gallon anyway, just in case we do have a leak. Now what could be more appropriate than by using a coffee can to fill up the motorcycle? I think that's really funny. Maxwell House gas. Okay, I'm looking around to make sure nothing's dripping, nothing's leaking, nothing. I see the neutral light is on, or something's on there anyway. Well, make sure it's not in gear. Nope, neutral. Looks like it's our lucky day. The Street Fighter starts right up. I just had a great idea. Since the sun is out, I'm going to take the Street Fighter out later and take some pictures without the fairing on. Maybe give me some inspiration for some... You know, I thought of another thing. Buy another one of these. You can buy these cheap, too. Buy another one and make a Street Fighter out of it. I like having two of every bike. And believe it or not, that's how all these Evil Twin projects start, is I just think, how cool would that be? That would make a nice Street Fighter. Yeah, this is a good break point in the day, and you never know. It's really turned out to be a pretty nice day. So it is pretty funny. After a long, nice long coffee break, I took about a 20-minute break. I checked the weather. It's over 50 degrees right now, and because Karen's been sick, basically almost a month now, she said she would like to, today she's been in good recovery, she'd like to take a little walk around Rutherford. So I guess we're going to cut this day a little shorter than we expected. Now there's been a couple of things that have made this job a lot nicer than in the past. One of them was this is the fairing bolts. I have each thing segregated for each part of the bike that goes together. So this has just made it easier for me, a lot easier in fact. And that is definitely a good tip. If you're going to take something apart, put all fairing parts, all the things that go to the seat or to whatever. It just makes it easier. Now I thought I'd mention something in keeping with the old Street Fighter thing. When I originally got the bike, and we had it at Luciano's house for a while, he worked on it, he fixed the carbs, he did quite a bit of work on it. I did a lot of the polishing of the frame and stuff up in his garage. But we never had all the body work on, because when we bought the bike, the body work was demolished. It was in 20 pieces. So, but that's why we got the bike real cheap. So what I'm thinking is, if I was going to make, at this point in time, a Street Fighter out of the FZR, I would never even have to fix the body work. And I actually did, before I actually did everything, I had the bike all put together without the fairing on it. And I was sitting on it and thinking, oh, this would be a great Street Fighter, get one of those Triumph double headlights. But you got to get ideas where you get ideas. And you never know where you're going to get ideas. But all the while I was having my coffee, it was dawning on me just how much. Now what makes this, from a styling cue point of view, this big hump on a tank, it makes it look a lot like a Brutale. It actually looks a lot like an MV Agusta. Now what's nice about these bikes, and this is the way my mind thinks, if you were to find one on Craigslist that had been in an accident, all bodywork's demolished, you'd probably get the bike for less than $1,000. Assuming it ran okay and you didn't have a bent frame or anything, that would be a great project. And don't even fix the bodywork. Just paint the wheels, paint the tank, and make a Street Fighter out of it. Just random ideas for the day. And this is how I like having these Suzuki, the GS Suzuki, Evil Twin parts, maybe some point in the year. This bike I have some extra bodywork for, and it just gives you a lot of things to think about when you're looking for next year's project. And I always like to look a year ahead of time. So while I was doing this, the phone rang. It's Mark Morgan. He's in Buffalo right now. And he gave me some really, really good news. That not far from our house, it's probably 4 or 5 miles from our house, is a place called American Dream. It's one of the biggest malls in the world. And it's still not open, 100% open, but he's going to be working on making a heliport there. And that job probably will go more than a year. So he'll be right in my backyard. Maybe, to be honest, maybe I'll get sick of seeing him and having pizza with him. But Mark, always one of, and Karen's favorite people too. So it'll be nice to know that he's going to be in our future videos. Now I got a little time left, and I wanted to just see how these are going to work out. Of course, I still have the aluminum ones that are polished, but now I have two. I have choices of two. And what I was looking for was that look of the carbon fiber, not a bright, shiny thing down by the foot pegs. It was a styling thing more than anything. Now these are special bolts that were on there that have a flange on it. I don't know if we're going to need these or if we'll ultimately just use stock bolts, but I'm going to put the original bolts back. I'm not sure that's going to make any difference, but right away I can see these look, to me, they black out one of the areas of the bike that I didn't want to call attention to. And I don't want to over tighten these for now. They have Loctite on them, of course. Yeah, that's going to look pretty nice. I think that's going to look pretty cool. Now it's little styling items, that very small things like the forks being black. That part, when it's polished aluminum, it calls attention to it. It kind of fades into the background there, and it lets the wheels and the tank stand out a lot better. I think from a styling point of view, that's a lot nicer. But of course, all styling is in the eye of the beholder. And it's always amazing to me how small things can change the whole look of a motorcycle. And small things that you get right make it a lot better. Small things that you get wrong, oh boy, it isn't funny. And I've had it both ways. I've done things to bikes that after a while I looked at them and I said, holy mackerel, what was I thinking? But when it's this kind of a project and you're doing it step by step and carefully thinking each thing through, doing concept sketches, having other people's feedback and input, you just stack the deck in your favor a little bit more, that it'll be all right when you get it all done. And this one I think is the ultimate for me, is getting it right on the first shot. But the more I'm sitting here like I'm getting obsessed by the fact this would make a great Street Fighter. And of course then you'd have to make a, other custom parts for it that would be in keeping with that, but that would be cool. But because these bikes are very common, parts are inexpensive, and there's always ones that have been laid down and all the bodywork's ruined and you can get them cheap, and the parts are so interchangeable. So a lot of things to like here, that's for sure. I still got a few minutes left, and I thought, well, one other part I can get on here is the chain guard. That'll be one more little item to get out of the way, because when we start to do that front fairing, that's going to be an all-encompassing job. I don't want to take any chances I'm going to scratch. And if I do scratch it, I'll have my Street Fighter. Now originally, of course, the chain guard was flat black. Well, you know what happens to flat black in my shop. The mafia takes over. And of course it's in the eye of the beholder whether you think these parts look better flat black. I don't know. I struggle with that all the time, wondering, but I like them shiny. Always in the eye of the beholder. Flat black, shiny black. Listen to those birds chirping. So now this is the first time we've seen it out in the sunlight. Oh, I got to invite Karen out here to take a look at it. When she helped me pick out that paint for the gold wheels, wow. That is spectacular. Even that bird likes it. Listen to that bird. The birds are chirping. Wow. That is going to be, we're a day or two away from being able to, well, do our photo shoot. We're going to do some photos of it right now, because I want to go back and look at this if we ever get a chance to do future projects. You never know. My life, the way I like it, I don't like to know what's coming tomorrow. Listen to that bird. He loves it. Hey, Wendy, that looks great. Chirp, 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 chirp. I'm just so happy the way this worked out. I guess you can hear it in my voice, even though my voice is still hoarse. Let's hope I'm better in a couple days, because we're going to be riding this as soon as possible. So, you know, another thing, I wanted it to be subtle. I didn't want to have, an example would be, if I did the frame gold, I think it would be too much gold. I think the wheels and that Kawasaki and those little arrowheads, it's going to be a pretty nice, it's going to look like the factory might have done it. I'm sure we're going to be able to fool some people, just like we fooled them with the Ferrari stickers on the bike. That was so much fun. Karen just came out to tell me the kids are walking too this afternoon. Very interesting. Anyway, this is absolutely what I had envisioned 5 months ago when I did those concept sketches in my mind. That's what I saw. And here it is 5 months later, and there it is. Plus, it's already been a pathway to figuring out some things that I want to do in the future. I love this gold paint. That was the find of the century, finding that on Amazon. We made this connection with Thomas Luciano for doing that laser cutting. That was wonderful. John Pathia laid out a lot of the work on this, did the photoshops and all that stuff, and I'm sure he's going to do more in the future. It's a team effort in a lot of ways, and of course I always depend on Karen's input for the final styling cues and little things like, how's that going to look, how's that going to look. You're always better if you're open to suggestion. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going for a walk with my wife around Rutherford. Enjoy the video and find me a Street Fighter for $1,000 or less. I think you get it for less than $1,000 if the guy wiped it out, and you don't need the body work anyway. And of course, as I always end every video, thank you so much for watching. Now, this is a couple of really good memory photos and a few short videos from the A-Team. And this is when we were restoring, I don't even remember. This is my 750 being restored here in the garage. We had a lot of ice on the pond, that's for sure. and I'm trying to remember this, but there's some funny stuff. Now, Bob Navola, this is Bob Navola. He's moved, of course, to Atlanta. Here's his bike, and I'm sure he'll appreciate, any people from the A-Team are going to remember this day like it was yesterday. This is so worth reliving. We had an A-Team meeting. There was an old Suzuki, I think a 750 or 650, whatever it was. I don't even remember what the whole deal was. It was for Bob Navola. We were going to try to get it running. We got the whole A-Team together. Now, remember, we had the A-Team at one point in time. We used to do this all the time when knighthoods were in flower. And look at me there. This is that Glenn took the camera here. There's some funny stuff in this video. There's some priceless stuff. Here's Jose and all of the people from the A-Team. Luciano was doing carburetors. Now, the only thing is, this was in a heated garage. And I remember, we got some video at the end of this that's very, very funny. That I remember Jose and Luciano tearing each other apart, and Glenn showing how to use a rubber hammer. And I know we had a fire at one time. Something caught fire. Oh, I remember somebody sprayed parts cleaner on a hot engine. And then we couldn't get the bike started, but we obviously did get it started. But this is the crux of the A-Team. When I say the A-Team, I have thousands and thousands of these photos on my computer now. Now that I have this new computer that John helped me get ready, we are going to be unveiling some of these moments in history. Now, this is 4 or 5 years ago. These are memories. You couldn't buy this with all the money in the world. If you're Michael Bloomberg, you can't buy this kind of memory. But we had so much fun, and I'm hoping you enjoy sharing this with us, because we worked on these bikes together. Vince was the electrician. He was doing his thing. Look, Glenn is hitting a wheel with a rubber hammer. Jose was doing his thing. Bob's wife bought us 1,000 donuts. We could have opened a Dunkin' Donut with all the donuts and coffee we had. It was a freezing cold day. There's Vince. And we just wanted to get together. We just wanted to have some fun. And Luciano was showing guys how to do the carburetors and how to clean them. And believe it or not, at the end of this, we got the bike running. It was amazing. This was a dumpster bike. I think it was a free bike. It was a no-money bike. So, and of course, they're the best. Maybe I get a free Street Fighter out of this soon. So anyway, sharing information. But when you see some of the video that comes right after these pictures, I hope you have a good laugh. It is truly, truly funny stuff. I would not trade this time for all the money in the world. This was really a great time to be a motorcyclist, and a great time to just have a lot of fun with your friends. So enjoy this short video.
Because that'll get brittle if it's cold.
This point is like pushed in, so.
This is how professionals work on motorcycles here. Glenn, show us how you learned that MMI to balance a wheel. Oh!
We're gonna get it running.
Did you learn this in that marriage class, or where did this come from? Ah!
Bigger hammer, bigger hammer.
Oh no!
You're not gonna do it.
You sure? No. Okay. You sure? Because it feels real good.
Just keep doing it.
You got a good chance.
There you go. It's already better.
I'd say it's fine.
Who said I'm not?
There's no reason to buy another wheel.
Glenn, got a little activation over there?
This is Bob's anger management school.
Let's heat it up. I'll get it. Let me heat it up and I'll.
So here we are at fireman training school.
Something
Oh,
smaller,
look at this.
a little smaller, yeah.
I smell something burning.
That was pretty good.
Luciano, are you supervising this job?
I'm trying to. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Just let me That's good, Bob.
That one's good, Bobby. That's it. That's the one.
Are you going to try to fire this up now?
Alright, so here's the difference. I'm trying to attack it with a rubber mallet, but experience is coming in with heat, a piece of wood, and a metal hammer.
A metal hammer.
Here we go.
Ooh.
Give it a shot.
Okay, come on.
Somebody got to work out like this.
This bike's going to fly off the rack here.
Well, let's stop out and we do it nice.
Are you sure? Because this is fun.
Let's get this thing right.
It's almost there.
We're running on 2 full all four cylinders or
It's
three?
running on 4.
That's 4.
I call 4.
That's 4.
Yeah, the way you tell. Just go touch the pipes.
That's 4.
Warm?
Yep.
Whoa!
This
Touch
was
the.
not, this was not hot at all.
That was the only.
Okay, 1 is cool.
This was not
Oh,
hot
4 is cool. Okay.
Not firing. It will.
Sounded like 3 to me.
Take that plug out. Let's see if that plug is all
Same,
good.
Bobby.
I don't think it's gas in the carburetors. That's not an electric issue. I'll
Oh,
pay money
these
on
two.
it.
These two
No,
are.
it's just you didn't have enough vacuum in
It's
that,
not.
that
That's
car.
all it is. I'll guarantee it. That's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
10 there.
All right.
10 millimeters on the floor. You put the. Somebody put the throttle cable too freaking tight. This
Oh!
Listen,
the fingers.
Does he look like me?
I don't want to say that we're gonna have to get rid of.
I have an evil twin that looks just like me.
We're
But doesn't-
gonna have to vote him out of the garage. Vote him off the
Oh!
island.
Oh! Chip Foose is not going to overhaul me.
These two are not.
That sounded
Completely
good.
cool.
That sounded really good.
That's all because the
That's
ground
good.
was good.
Good groundwork.
The throttle cable needs to be
I'm all about
loosened
my
up.
grounds, man.
He's
Okay.
laid good groundwork.
I'll erase this off the video so nobody knows you
He's gonna
did it.
rock and roll.
Actually, I did it. I wanted to hear it
That
at full
sounded really
RPM.
This is gonna be
It was a 4 RPM.
a fun bike.
Oh, these things are snappy.
This is gonna be a fun bike. And,
like
with,
these
the, and
bikes.
with the shaft drive, it'll be like, "Meh."
Yeah. And you know how easy it is to rejet these things, these Makunis?
Yeah, he just had him off in 2 seconds.
We had him when you got here.
Luciano can do
Somebody
almost anybody.
messed around with the mixer screw because they took the caps off.
Ah, damn.
So somebody thought they needed
Yeah.
to do it. How's that, Luch?
So here we have the world's happiest GS owner.
Oh, sorry.
Hey!
I'm loving this.
Happiness is a GS that runs and smokes up your garage. Yesterday, yesterday in Nyack, New Jersey, 7 people were asphyxiated in Navola's garage.
New York, New York.
Oh, New York. Wow, you guys pay tax here. Wow, that's
Big
terrible.
tax.
Whoa. They mistakenly thought that you could run a car indoors without ventilation. We're all getting lightheaded here. Oh my God.
What do you think it's supposed to do?
Yeah. I had a Suzuki, an 82 Suzuki 1100.
Where's the choke?
For 20 something years.
Okay. I got it.
Oh, shaft drive 1100. Matter of fact, you know what replaced that, Jose?
I got it.
Was the ST. The ST replaced that Suzuki 1100 I had for 20 years.
Oh, yeah?
And then I had the ST for.
20 years? 20?
Hold on, where's
I
the
got it.
shot?
I got it
Give me
in.
a shot.
Actually, it's 21 years because I got it in.
Go
I
ahead.
got
Crank
it in
it.
94.
Turn the throttle too.
Don't put too much, gonna catch on fire.
Gotta give it some throttle. Crank it one more time. We had it. As soon as we brought that throttle down, though, I think we could tighten this throttle back up again.
Pull the choke. You want to spray a little on this? Wake it
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Give it a shot.
That's a good idea.
Hey, look, it backfired through that cylinder.
There you go. Already sounds better. Oh yeah. Still. I think that's it.
Not these guys. I'm gonna pull a spark plug over there so we can get the spark.
Just put your hand on a pipe. You'll know right away.
Yeah, but they're not. They're cold as ice.
Yeah. That's so nothing.
Plus, you can feel the exhaust. It's going cold here. Yeah. Plug on that side. Nah, that's just from the heat.
Not yet. Not yet.
No.
Not yet. confident.
But I'm check the spark, eliminate that first.
Open the door. Don't have to do it now. Breathe deep. Breathe deep. Let's get rid of all this carbon monoxide.